Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Stryd webinar. My name is Evan. I'm your host of the show as always. We are going to continue our look into this latest feature release. We've been doing a daily stream for the past couple of days. Today, we're going to be looking at Stryd Insights and taking a closer look at the Stryd training ecosystem. Starting off, I'd like to ask anybody watching live right now, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave a thumbs up, a like, and if you are currently watching live, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and producer Kaylee will be able to send them along my way to answer at the end of the show. Without further ado, let's get into it. Again, I mentioned we'll be talking about Stryd Insights and taking a closer look at the Stryd ecosystem. So you might ask yourself, what are Stryd Insights? Well, this is a specific feature set where we will analyze and compare similar training sessions to uncover new insights and connections in your data. Insights are unique to you and your data only, and insights are delivered after every run. So every single run is unique to you based on your data. We'll be able to deliver insights based on how you tag your run and the different trends we notice in your run. Starting off, the most important thing, I've talked about this on a lot of webinars, but the most important thing about this feature release in terms of insights is knowing how to tag your runs. Tagging gives us some more information about you and your running, how you felt, and it gives us the ability to create these custom tailored insights based on you. How to tag your run. You will go to your Stryd Mobile App and you'll go to the calendar page. You'll click on the specific activity and click this little icon that's highlighted here. It is underneath the heart icon and it's the tag icon. Afterward, you'll be prompted to fill out run type, surface type, the shoe you wore, how you felt, the perceived exertion, and leave any notes or any other tags that you've custom created. After that, we'll be able to have more information and be able to give you some valuable insights. Types of insights. Now we're going to talk about the specific different types of insights that are in this latest release. The first being the power duration curve. So all of these insights are going to appear on individual, what we call cards. So this section here on the right side of the screen that shows the power duration curve, impactful run sections. This is going to be the first card we talk about. It'll help you quickly identify runs where you've set a new 90-day best. The blue power duration curve represents your 90-day power duration curve, and the purple line, the purple power duration curve, represents that run. If there is a highlighted section, like we see from 48 minutes to an hour and 6 minutes, it'll tell you by highlighting that section on the actual power duration curve, showing where the two lines meet or cross. It'll also highlight specifically the start time and the end time, as well as the total duration between. And then on the right side, it'll tell you the wattage for each of those durations. So we can see here on this example that the impactful run section was from 48 minutes and 9 seconds to 1 hour, 6 minutes and 53 seconds. That's a elapsed time of 18 minutes and 44 seconds. And the range was from 288 watts down to 274 watts. So this is a great simple summary for you to be able to understand where each specific section of that run impacted your power duration curve. And one thing I do want to highlight, as always, is that if you ever have any questions about any of these graphs or any of these sections in the Stryd mobile app, you'll be able to find it if you press the top right corner or the eye icon. It'll give you more information. Our support team and software team has written a ton of great articles and given you a ton of great information to explain all of these features further. So this is the power duration curve insight specifically. It'll appear after every run. The next one is time and zones. This will display zone breakdowns for that run. You can press to hold and see time spent in the zone. So from zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, if you actually press and hold on the graph, you'll be able to see specific time spent in that zone. And then we'll have the zone 1 duration displayed at the bottom. Another important thing that I'll talk about and reiterate at the end of this specific presentation is for graphs like this time and zone, like I like I mentioned, you can press to see time spent in the zone. If you press and then scrub your finger along on the power duration, you'll actually be able to see on this power duration curve the specific duration and the power. So a lot of these graphs you can actually interact with, and you should absolutely feel free to check out any of these graphs and see if they do respond to your touch. Feel and perceived effort. So this card here specifically is for quick visual trends in reported feel and perceived effort. There is a color coding to it, so it'll go from a lighter blue down to a green, a little bit darker green, a yellow, orange, and then a red based on how you reported your run in terms of feel. And then on the perceived effort, it'll go all the way from that blue all the way to the red from a 1 through 10 sliding scale. The RPE is compared to your average over the past 90 days. So we can see in the example here that the perceived effort being easy rated as a 2 compared to 3.3 for all cooldowns over the preceding 90 days in this specific example. So it's a great way to see how you're stacking up against how you've reported similar run types on average. The other thing I would say about this as well is that this is scrubbable on the feel graph. So you can press and then you can highlight each specific run. You can press view run if you'd like. Another thing that I'd like to highlight here on the feel graph is that just from a quick visual representation, we can tell that starting off in the month of June earlier this year for this specific profile, we saw a pretty equal distribution of feeling really good and then feeling okay. So we start at the emoji with the sunglasses on. We like to have a little bit of fun in terms of representing this. A little bit of a smile, down to a little bit more of a neutral face. We started to get into that after about 2 weeks of training. Then we see this grouping of yellow and red midway through the month around the 22nd. And then we see the athlete go a little bit back up. So this highlights trends in how you are actually reporting, which is why it's so important to tag every single run. But this I thought was a really interesting representation, and using this feel graph coupled with some other insights, we might actually be able to pull out some trends about our own running. So this wraps up the feel and perceived effort insight. The next one is run trends, and these appear for long runs, easy runs, and recovery runs. You can observe the trends of your runs based on the run type. There's a little bit of a distinction here specifically for this insight. When we look at specifically things like long runs, easy runs, recovery runs, those are usually unique variables. If we're looking at things like intervals, we're looking at a fartlek workout, we're looking at a threshold, a tempo, not every run can just be compared by a general run type, but we feel that different run types like long runs, easy runs, recovery runs, you can compare those pretty equally and investigate those trends over time. So you can also sort between multiple metrics and pick out any outliers to better understand your training. On the graph here specifically, we'll see a distribution of these different runs from around July up until early October. We can see each run is an individual gray dot, and this graph is able to be interacted with as well. Then we'll see a solid white line doing a trend line or a best fit line. We'll also see that current run highlighted with a dot pertaining to the run you're actually on. You can click the bottom row. We have different metrics like power, stress, distance, duration, pace, ground contact time, vertical oscillation, heart rate, and leg spring stiffness. And you can investigate all of these trends for these different run types. This is one of my favorite types of insights to use, and I really like looking at this each week when I do a long run, each week when I'm doing my easy and recovery runs, and I'm able to investigate my trend over time and help me pick out any outliers, whether they be really, really high above my trend, really, really low below my trend, and I can start to form some ideas of how my longer duration training is actually trending. Recovery and stress is the next one. And this, I feel, is a very easy to understand gauge graph that illustrates your daily running stress score. So like I mentioned before, if you have any questions about these, you can click the little eye icon in blue and it'll give you more information about this specifically. This run card specifically tells you what today's stress is in terms of running stress score compared to your 42-day average of 46 running stress score in this specific example. So today's running stress in this example is 35 compared to the average of 46. We can see that this is recommended for sustained training because the training load for that day is less than that longer term average training load, which means it's sustainable. We did a great webinar with training distribution with Steve Palladino a couple of weeks ago, and this would be a great video to watch if you're interested in this specific type of insight. I really like checking this one on specific easy days and also the days after I do hard workouts to make sure I'm not pushing too much and making sure I'm actually recovering, which is the purpose of a recovery day and a recovery run. Surface type and run type. This one is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy some of the uniqueness some of these different tags can have. So you can explore based on your run type and surface type. The specific example we pulled out here, because I think this looks absolutely amazing, is the surface type of trail. We can see that 93% of the running duration for this athlete has been on trail for the preceding 7 days. Then we can see some really interesting breakdowns. We can see flat running, downhill running, uphill running, and hiking. And we can see the specific breakdown here of the different times spent on each of these categories. And we can also see the different average wattage for each of these average categories as well. So this is really interesting and really unique to the trail activity type, and or the trail surface type, I should say. And we do think that this is something that we're excited to explore a little bit more further and generate more custom insights like this. For run type, it'll analyze the duration percentage over the last 7 days. So we can see the other example here, the run type fartlek. We can see 9% of this athlete in this example's running duration over the preceding 7 days has been from fartlek. So we can start to get a general idea of not only the different types of runs we're doing, but the actual surface types that we are running on. And this is helpful for anybody that does a mix of surfaces. You might be switching between running outdoors and running indoors on the treadmill. You might be running a little bit more track work. We want to be able to show you some of these insights and give you more information specifically about how you are trending and how the information that we're collecting is valuable to your own running. Shoe mileage. This is another one that's really cool. This was one of my favorite releases a bit ago, adding shoes. You can add this in the tagging section like we showed at the beginning of this presentation. We really think that the shoe range is definitely based on person to person, but each shoe has a mileage cap that you should respect. And we don't think you should risk missing your best performance or unnecessarily risk injury by running on expired or worn out shoes. So we give you the ability to set a mileage cap. And this is also super valuable for identifying what shoes you wore for your best performances. It's a very easy to understand thing when you, let's say you go back into a workout you remember because you did a long run, you notice on your long run trends that one stood out in particular. You go to that run, you scroll down, you see what shoes you wore because you couldn't remember. You have maybe 1 or 2 pairs you rotate between. You're trying a race day shoe versus your normal, easy long run shoe. This is a great insight card here to make sure you fully understand everything that we can possibly provide about your running. So the shoe insight there is right now showing your mileage cap and then, or your mileage distribution on that shoe, as well as the mileage cap and the shoe you wore for that run. The other little thing I like too is in the little gray text underneath the shoe name, you'll be able to see the number of runs that you've gone on with that shoe. So that's another interesting thing that we decided to throw in there, and I think that's a great little feature as well. Our promos to Android users. So that wraps up all of the different insight examples that we have. Right now, this feature release is on iOS. We're dedicated to bringing our Android app up to par with our iOS app. We've recently dedicated additional resources to our Android development to ensure the app is on par with iOS. It's our promise to Android users that these new features will remain as a free preview until the Android app is on par with the iOS app. We do thank all of our Android users for their loyal support. We're excited to continue bringing you great features, including the Insight cards like we have talked about today, our mobile optimized power center, and even faster updates for our Android app through the rest of this year and into 2021. We're going to go over 3 takeaways here now to wrap things up, and I will use this as a last call for any questions that people might have if you are watching. Takeaway number 1 is always tag your runs. I say this probably every other webinar, but the takeaway point here is always tag your runs. Tagging enables personalized insights. We can't give you information if you don't give us information. So we really, really want to give you as much valuable information, as many insights as possible. So please remember to tag your runs. It is critically, critically important. Takeaway number 2 is tap and hold on the insights. You can find extra info on some of the insights. So remember that some of these graphs you can interact with, specifically the trends, specifically the feel graph, as well as some others, the time and zones. You can use this to garner even more information if you're curious about why a run was so above a trend, below a trend, why you felt so bad on a run, why you felt so good on a run. Press and hold on the graph, move your finger side to side, and press view run for that advanced analysis on that next run. Then takeaway number 3 is combine insights for maximal impact. Insights complement each other. Like I mentioned, if you're scrolling on the feel graph and you notice a trend of a couple days where you felt really, really bad, you have a bunch of these orange or red dots. Press and hold on that, view the runs, see what was going on. Another sort of way to use that, again, would be on the trends graph. If you maybe see that your ground contact time has been really high or really low, you can look at your leg spring stiffness over the course of some long runs. Use those in conjunction with other insights to get more information. The insights absolutely complement each other. So please, please, please take a nice long look at all the insights that we have to report about your runs. I do also want to put a reminder out there that if you do not have Stryd, it is available at store.stryd.com. You can get all of these great insights that we have been talking about. And it is available now. This software release came out last week, and these insights are available now on the iOS side. And it is a fantastic experience. We really are excited to continue adding more to this in the future as well. This is, again, one of my favorite things from this release, but we've had so many different examples of different days of things in this release, and we're really excited to continue bringing you more of these. But the insights specifically are one of my favorite things to look at after each run. I will flip back and see if we have any questions here. It looks like we got a couple. When looking at these power duration curve insights, is an impactful run mean that it is contributing to your critical power? Yeah, no, that is a great question. It depends. So the specific insight here is showing different points on your power duration curve where you have contributed a new best over the past 90 days. So it'll look at all the activities in the last 90 days and look for the different points on the power duration curve. If you set a new best over these last 90 days on the power duration curve, it will show on that insight. It does not necessarily mean that it's contributing to your critical power. We have some great webinars and great topics on maintaining and establishing a valid auto-calculated critical power. And we do think that those give a longer explanation, a better explanation. Sometimes an impactful run can contribute to your critical power, but we look at every point on your power duration curve to determine your critical power. Next question here is, I'm so confused with how the power duration curve is beneficial for me. Yeah, no, this is a great point from George here. A power duration curve, and we have some help videos and some webinar topics on this specific subject. Power duration curve helps you understand your ability at different power outputs for different durations. We use the power duration curve to not only inform us of your auto-calculated critical power, but to look for different abilities at different periods of time. So a power duration curve is really a summary of you as an athlete and how you perform across different durations at different efforts. And this is beneficial for giving you great great race targets, great training targets as well. We really do think that the power duration curve is a fundamental area of training with power, and making sure that you understand the relationship and how it helps you is a absolutely critical component. But the power duration curve, again, illustrates your performance as an athlete at different efforts over different durations. Terry asks, are there plans to put this functionality on Power Center? Our team is definitely considering different ways to make a lot of these features available throughout the Stryd ecosystem. But right now, this is an iOS-only release. Let's see here. I've not been tagging my runs before this new release. Is it possible to go back through my past data and tag those runs? Will I still receive these insights for past run data? Yeah, you absolutely can. Some of the things might be hard to remember, like specifically how you felt, specifically the rated perceived exertion, but you can absolutely still go back through your runs and tag them. One strategy you might be able to use is on the calendar section. I'm talking specifically about the iOS app right now. Calendar section, you add a filter to filter all of your long runs. And if you haven't been tagging your long runs and you want to do those in a nice, easy way, have those all listed there, you can create a filter and then create the filter either by distance or by duration. So say any runs between an hour and 2 hours, you want those to pop up in the filtered list, you can do that. Any runs over a certain distance that you consider a long run, you can do that. So if you haven't tagged certain activity types, or it's harder for you to remember what certain activities were, that might be a great way to do it. Next question here is shoes. Can we begin putting mileage on shoes for shoes already in use? Or should we change cap mileage? So this question is from Bill. You can put beginning mileage on the shoes. You can add a starting mileage. And we do have the section, if you go to the settings menu on your Stryd mobile app, if you go to the shoes section, when you do add a shoe, it'll take you through, choosing the shoe, what brand it is, what model it is from that brand, what the size is, if you want to give it a nickname, asking you if there's any starting mileage, and then adding a mileage cap there. So yeah, you can absolutely add previous mileage on a shoe as well. Next question here is, I have a steep drop-off in my power duration curve. Is this typical? It depends on what data you're recording, is what I would say. Producer Kaylee says, we'll link out how to establish and maintain a valid auto-calculated critical power. But we do recommend 3 specific types of activities: a short, very high intensity activity, something like a hill sprint or a fast 30-second repeat, something in the 10 to 20 minute range, up to 30-minute range of that medium high intensity. So you might think of a 5K to 10K time trial. That would suffice for that medium portion. And then a longer, little bit easier, but sustained effort from 60 minutes up to 90 minutes is what we typically look for. So I would absolutely say the video where we talk about how to maintain and establish a valid auto-calculated critical power is a really good full explanation with some different recommendations. But having a steep drop-off, it's not atypical, but it is definitely something that you can add more data to give us a more accurate gauge of your fitness. Another question or comment here is, these additions to the iOS app are fantastic. This really has convinced me to use the Stryd app more. Great job. Thank you so much for the comment. We definitely appreciate that. I will put this out for any last questions. It doesn't look like we have any more questions. So I'll wrap up by saying, again, you can subscribe to the Stryd YouTube channel by pressing the red subscribe button. You can feel free to give this video a thumbs up. You can share it with anybody you think might find this video useful. You can follow us on social media at Stryd Running. If you have any support requests, we are always available at support@stryd.com. We will be back tomorrow with another webinar on metrics and analysis. We have a couple new metrics and a couple new ways to display these metrics in the Stryd mobile app, as well as on Power Center, a couple new metrics. And we'll talk about some more in-depth analysis. And that is tomorrow's topic. You can find us right back here on the Stryd YouTube channel. We also do stream to our Stryd community on Facebook. You can feel free to watch there. But that wraps it up for today. We will see you back here tomorrow. Have a great one.